people that get ahead in this business, or any business for that matter, you got to eat it, live it, breathe it. To even do that one deal a month you're talking 10 hours a day. It might not be, 8 to 8. It might be 10 to 12. Every day is different, but that's the good thing about having a business or being in your own business. You do have time flexibility, right? But you got to still put in that time. Be the weekend, could be night, could be working till 12, 1 a.m. doing your taxes, whatever it is. It's a mindset that you have to have.
There's a different skill set between underwriting a deal and actually understanding the real estate and understanding the market. And I think that's why, acquisitions guys will call me and say, hey, talk to me about the market. We're trying to figure out our underwriting. That says a lot to me, because they want to understand, they have the models and they can go raise the equity, but it's just a different skill set.
Welcome to the Broker Brunch. So, David, you're a returning guest. Good to have you back on. Brandon, Polakoff.
Returning guest.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Brandon, you're a first-time caller, so we're excited to have you on.
Thank you.
Brandon, I was reading down through your resume.
Okay.
And it's incredible stuff, David. Have you read through this? I mean, is this not the kind of guy you would want your daughter to bring home in a few years? We're talking youngest partner at Avison Young, top producer 2018, 2019, top producer firm-wide. I even read he was a stud on the varsity lacrosse team. So I guess my only question is, how do you crush life like this, Brandon? What's your secret sauce, man?
Well, I appreciate that introduction. I see this is probably why I don't usually go on podcasts. I don't know how to answer those questions. I don't know. I don't view myself as crushing life. There's a lot of people that do bigger, better things. I work very hard with what I do. And just I think, pretty down to earth, just no ego, and just put my head down. I think something I was saying to someone the other day, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. And I think especially in this business, a lot of people can do it in short intervals, whereas it really is a 24/7, 365-day thing if you want to stick with it. And then I think also starting out, I was making zero money. I was eating the same thing for dinner every night, 5 days a week. And it was just again, it's definitely different now than it was then. Not to be that guy, but it's just different. I think you had to come in with a head full of steam and just go, and no days off. It was Monday through Friday in the office, 7 to 7 at a minimum. So you learned a lot. I got in the door with James Nelson, so I was exposed to a lot early on. Right place, right time, and then obviously the market worked as well. I started in real estate in 2010, but I started in brokerage in 2012, 2013, and obviously that was the right time to get into brokerage, so there's some luck element to it. And then I also think playing the long game, I don't fight over fees. I don't fight with people. I don't yell at people. At the end of the day, it's a very small community. You do people favors, they do it back. You just do the right thing enough times and things end up working out.
Love that. David, last year we had you on the podcast. You were saying you were focusing on closing one deal per month. That was your aim. How did you do on that target, and how are things going?
If you include things that I sell, I would say I'm above that.
We can include those if you want.
If we want to include a sale and a purchase, I guess it's still a deal a month.
Still a deal, absolutely.
Still a deal a month, but like Brandon was saying, and even being a client of Brandon's and James for many years, it's the people that get ahead in this business, or any business for that matter. You got to eat it, live it, breathe it. To even do that one deal a month you're talking 10 hours a day. It might not be 8 to 8. It might be 10 to 12. Every day is different, but that's the good thing about having a business or being in your own business. You do have time flexibility, right? But you got to still put in that time, whether could be the weekend, could be night, could be working till 12, 1 a.m. doing your taxes, whatever it is, right? It's a mindset, that you have to have. But look, it's been tough years for everybody. I talked to a lot of people in all different industries, businesses. It's been slow, but if you're grinding, you can make it go a little faster, right? You can find that extra deal, or make those extra offers, or put in those extra bids, or always be searching for investors, or finding the next opportunity.
If you've been wondering what types of deals we've been working on,
We've made it easy for you. Just click on the link, show notes below.
we're talking real deals and real opportunities.
Whether you're an investor or owner or just curious to know what's going on behind the scenes.
Just click the link below and it'll bring you right to all of our available inventory. Yeah.
To speak, right?
Yeah, I feel like everyone I speak to, it's that little bit harder to get anything done. Like even talking to attorneys, it's just, there's a lot of busy work out there and trying to just move the ball forward, but it's monumentally slower, I think, than it was even a few years ago. But I am interested to hear about your perspectives on where we are today. I want to talk a little bit about creatively financing deals as well, and also just hit on what your predictions are for next year. But first, just to lean back into your respective shops. So we hit on it a little bit, Brandon, with Avison Young. So you've worked alongside James Nelson.
Yeah.
It seems like Avison Young has become say one of the biggest privately held brokerages in the country. I mean, I'm not sure where it ranks, but that's what it appears to be. How's it been? What's your impression of it so far?
It's been great. You know, I started at Massey Knackle, which was a privately held company here that obviously, and worked with Paul and Bob, I believe, as well. It gives that, and then we went to Cushman, and then now I'm at Avison. Each firm has its advantages, but it definitely has that like home feel to it. So I'm at my desk yesterday, and like the CEO walks by, and he's like, "Hey, Brandon," and starts talking to me about the Rangers. Like, you don't get that at Summit, but at the same time, it's over 125 offices across the globe, over 5,000 people. So it's a big firm, but you don't feel like lost in the shuffle, which in my view has been really awesome. Like, you can call someone and ask for something, and there's no fights in our office. There's no sharp elbows, which again, it's exhausting. That's not what I want to be doing with my life, is fighting with people. So I think that's been really great. And yeah, as a firm, I mean, our team specifically, we have like a 24 person team. We all get compensated on every transaction that we do. So there's clearly camaraderie to it, and no one's fighting with each other. We have a meeting every single day at 9 a.m. to go through all of our deals and like make sure that we're selling stuff and attacking it how we should. So no, it's been great. And I think very quickly, just going back to you mentioned the tough market. I actually think for guys, you would also ask, like, why do I think some of the success has been there? I think guys like yourself who've been very successful, and other people our age, I think there's been a huge advantage actually with the down market. In a good market, anyone can sell real estate. In a tough market, that's when I think the extra work pays off. I don't think guys and girls in their 30s would have had the same success if the market just kept humming, because the people that were at the top that eventually burned out when things got tough, they would have never left. I think there wouldn't have been as much movement, and people would have just kind of went on doing the same thing. And it's hard to shake things up if nothing's changing. So I think actually in some ways, I've actually appreciated the down market in that it's given an opportunity to other people to step up and show what they can do.
And David, for you, so you came from our side of the business as well. You were a broker once upon a time, probably seems like a long time ago.
Boy.
But
you must miss it so much.
I mean, I'm still brokering. Right?
Yeah.
It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
You're always brokering. I mean, I don't know if I told my story before, but the first job I had at college was office leasing broker. I got a job through a family friend making $25,000 a year, which seemed like a lot of money in 2003, 2004, and giving you 5 to 10% of the commissions, which an office lease then was like $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month of leasing what was in the garment center, right? This is before the garment center became the great place it is now. So after a month, I ended up getting fired because there was a guy there, an older guy. He was probably in his 80s, who was selling buildings. And I was like looking at the Massey Knackle books he had on his desk, and he would be looking at these things, $100 million, $80 million like portfolios. I'm like, well, what's a commission on selling a building? 2%, 3%, whatever, 4%. And those are like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I'm trying to make like $1,000 commission, right? When this guy over here is trying to make like hundreds of thousands. So I started like while I was there, and this is the reason I got fired, was like taking like these Massey Knuckle setups and then like whiting them out and then sending them to my friends. Or Best and Associates back then was the other big firm in Eastern. They would put all the setups on the website, and you could just download the setups of deals, like, and that's how I like kind of learned the business, teaching it to myself, like looking at the Massey Knuckle setups, looking at the Eastern Consolidated setups, looking at the Best and Associates. So I got fired. So then I said, all right, I'm going to look for another office leasing job, because I knew what office leasing was, not really. And I was going to rent apartments on the weekends. And then that was at City Habitats, which became Corcoran. And City Habitats had a commercial division. And the guy was like, you don't want to rent apartments, come work here, which they just started the group. And the guy just gave me a blue book to call out of. So I just started calling out of the blue book, right? Property Shark was just starting then. And somehow I found a guy who wanted to sell a building. And I sold it to a guy and made like $50,000, right? So I was like, this is just amazing. Just kept calling, and then deals would come in from the residential agents. Sold another couple buildings, made another 50, and then I was there for like a year and a half. Then the company got sold to Corcoran, and I'm like, I'm out of a job again. That's when I started interviewing. Went to Marcus & Millichap, and that's where I really learned the business of how to really canvas, how to value buildings properly, how to cold call. You go through their training program.
I always say Marcus & Millichap is like broker college.
Yeah, it's like broker college.
You go in, there's a bullpen. It's exactly what you envision commercial brokerage to be.
Right.
Successful people have offices. The guys who are starting don't.
Exactly.
Call, you do first meetings, you pitch, you come in. Brandon talks about eating the same thing every day. You literally do that every night.
Yeah.
You come back in, and everyone's doing the same thing, so there was a bit of camaraderie to it. That's one thing I really liked.
There was definitely some camaraderie.
A lot of knives out there as well. I'm not going to
A
pretend.
lot of knives. I mean, you had some really big players there that have gone on to do amazing things.
Who was there when you were there?
Well, Glenn Konofsky was there.
Okay.
I mean, he's a major guy. Peter Vonderay.
Okay.
Like the first day I'm in there, story about Peter, like I brought in like a listing, right, with me to Marcus & Millichap, and he brings me a buyer like the day one. And I didn't know how that worked, because no one ever brought me a buyer. And so he's like, yeah, we're co-brokering this. When I'm like, I don't have a chance to, I'm like, all right, this is
Didn't even know where the water cooler was.
But at the end of the day, you probably should have just taken the sale and moved on. Eventually, it wasn't even like a sellable thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, or whatever. So Joe was just starting out, like, Steve Matry went on to do like major things. You had a lot of personalities there. Todd Jacobs. So it's just, was there for about 3.5 years. Really learned the business, and then like 2007 was happening, which was the big crash, right? So Marcus was changing, people are leaving left and right, and then while I was there, it was like the same light bulb when I was like, all right, now I'm selling a building to a client, and then I'm reselling it for him. How do I get involved in that, right? So then started with like flipping little deals in the Bronx, buying my own little building in Queens. It was like $90,000 while I was there. Bought some other buildings I had a partner there at the time with his family's money. But when the market crashed, he was like, he had no more capital to invest and didn't want to raise outside capital, right? Which is really the key to doing things, right? If you're not willing to raise outside capital or know how to raise outside capital, you're only going to go so far with your own money or your family money, so to speak.
And that's
right?
what you mean by the brokering, I'm sure, is that you're out there selling something.
You're,
right?
instead of selling a build, you're still selling a building. You're just selling it now in fragments.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what I'm doing, right? It's like, so, but you have to believe in it in a different way, right? Because you also have to put your own money in. You have to guarantee a loan, which also is an impediment for people getting into this side of the business. They're not willing to, sign record. Most people won't. Pretty much every deal, the hundreds that I've done have all been personal, or you don't get the loan. It's just, you're not able to borrow at 8, 10, 12. I borrowed at 6, 14, 15%. You have to do what you have to do. But also when you start out with nothing, you have nothing to lose.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Actually true.
So
As a broker, all you really have at the start is your time to lose. But once you move over to that principal side, it's a whole different ball game, I'd imagine. Like, it's not just about like, oh, just my time now is messed up and I have to tell my wife that it didn't work out. But it's like you literally could wipe out the last 10 years of your good
Well,
run.
I would still be brokering a deal here, or I'd refer deals to James. You know, this is before Brand started. Like I would refer
James Nelson.
And when he was even at Massey, I remember referring him. You know,
I remember that.
referring buildings, and that's how you would eat, right? Like you get a deal. If you're an entrepreneur, you can buy it, you can broker it. I had my own broker's license. You could flip the contract, or you can refer it. So you have to have those streams of income, because otherwise you're not going to be eating.
Thanks for listening to the Broker Brunch. We've now brought you a ton of episodes and we hope we're providing a lot of value. If you have any ideas of people you'd like to see on future episodes, please drop it in the comments so we can make it happen. Right, you can be entrepreneurial in this business by looking at the deal that's in front of you and deciding what the best way to skin this cat.
Try to make something out of a good deal.
Yeah.
Right. Try to make something, because now you're paying for your own office. Right. You want to have at least some sort of person working for you.
Yes.
Right. If you don't have the brokerage revenue stream anymore, like I remember after I left Marcus, I was sitting in my apartment just cold calling clients, people, this, that, just trying to figure out like what the heck am I going to do with my life.
I mean, I remember walking into your office this is probably 2014. I mean, you then eventually set up like a brokerage team in your office to find deals.
Yep.
I remember there was like 10 people at desks just cold calling.
Interns, free labor, whatever you could do. And just like brokerage, most people don't survive, right? Like people come, they would quit after 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
It's just people
hard.
would just disappear overnight. It's the same thing. It's all about brokering, right? At the end of the day, you're always brokering.
You went on a great run and had a ton of success, and I know we've chatted about that before. If we fast forward to Hildreth Advisors, Hildreth Real Estate Advisors, your shop today, what's it look like?
I mean, it's a pared down version. Obviously you learn from your mistakes, right? You make mistakes along the way, try to keep overhead low, salaries low, a core group of people that have a similar type of vision. But, I'm still out there canvassing directly for deals in a more modified way. Direct mail is always something I've always done. I still do it in a very direct type of way. But I also, I'm not like necessarily looking for a 5 cap, moving it to a 7 or an 8. I'm looking for more cash flowing, because investor bases change over years, and you can only do what your investors want. And most investors want distributions, right? Like everyone's focused on distributions, especially now when people can invest in private credit getting 8, 9, 10, 11%, or they can invest in hard money loans, right? At first position. Why invest in the equity and try to make like 15, 20 when you can get almost like a guaranteed 8 to 12? So I have to compete against all these other things. I have to try to at least get people like a 6, 7, 8 plus upside to make the deals even relevant. And that's why it's also been more difficult to do certain things lately in real estate. Sometimes you have to get a little more outside of the comfort zone and step into businesses and things like that, which I've done, but it's just like anything. It's work, it's management intensive, and it's tough.
Brandon, for you, just switching back to Avison Young, you were recently promoted to head of the sales group there. Congrats on that. You're a humble guy. You didn't bring that up yourself, so I'm going to bring it up for you. But congrats on that. But I'm wondering, when you move over, like David hit on it there a little bit, from maybe just focusing on getting deals done to actually like leading a group or hiring.
Yeah.
Is a lot of your time spent now managing rather than producing, or how do you split up your day?
No, yeah. My thing, and I've told Avison Young this, and I tell anyone this, like my time is best spent doing what I think I do best, which is sourcing business and executing business. And honestly, like valuing property, understanding market dynamics. I think it's important to, I don't want to say outsource because it's on our team, but we have a head of operations. Obviously, James does promotional efforts for our team. He's very, very, very good at videos and podcasts and those sorts of things.
Good front office man, I
Perfect.
feel, right?
Yeah. And my biggest thing is lead by example. So, I mean, I will say this is an anecdote, but I have an office. I still sit in the bullpen and I let anyone use it if they want to make calls in there with quiet. I like to be in the mix. I think it's good you can't expect someone to work their tail off if you're not doing it yourself. So that's my thing, is I'm just going to put my head down. If someone has a question for me, I will answer them. But I also I expect direct questions to provide direct answers. And it's funny, when I started, my first internships were at Silverstein Properties, and there was a great guy named Jeff Grasso. And Jeff, what I liked about him is I was he was such a good mentor. And I was like, how can I be like Jeff? He's like a young killer. He now is doing crazy projects out west. And Jeff was like, you have to give me 10 questions a week and we'll go through them. He took my mouse away so I would learn Excel without a mouse. But it was a lot of just throwing me into the fire and making me come up with questions. And I think if someone's giving you work, if you're not trying to figure things out yourself, you'll never actually learn it. If you're forced to ask the questions and understand something or see what someone else is doing and trying to emulate that, so to speak, I think that'll, advance someone's career more than going into a training session and, you can sit next to me and listen to me on the phone, right? I can't replicate what I'm doing in a training session, and people kind of space out in those things anyway. So yeah, a lot of it's just leading by example. And then again, if someone has a question for me, I will answer them in 10 seconds. But if someone just wants advice, I struggle with that.
That's interesting that you've kind of separated that in your head. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you're good in the bullpen if it's like, Brandon, the owner just said this, what should I say? Bang, you got it.
Correct.
But if I come to you, I'm like, Brandon, I'm not sure, how to progress in this business. You almost need
I would be like, yeah, that sounds terrible. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to.
It's two different skill sets, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't have that second one. That's a James, a Paul. There's certain personalities that are great at that, and I can't sit here and say that I am. I'm more of the technical questions.
Yeah,
interesting. Dave?
I would say I'm in that realm. Yes, I know exactly what to say to the seller, how to work around certain situations, but yeah, you're supposed to have sympathy and empathy and all this stuff, but
you also need to be effective. And
you got to put in the work,
right?
If you're not going to put in the effort and the work, and if you're not going to respond quickly, that's the other thing. The people that don't respond quickly, those are
100%.
You got to respond quickly. I don't know. You got to be on the ball. That's what
If I'm working for David and he asks me a specific question and it's a text, I will respond.
Oh my God. You and Noah. That's why I work with the people that
10 seconds.
You gravitate towards the people that you're just never gonna. No one's gonna respect you not answering for a day, right? Especially
this reminds me of scheduling this podcast. You called me, I think, 4 times on a Friday evening, and I was like, dropping my kid off somewhere or something, and then I get a text from David, and can you please return my calls?
Right, it's really funny.
Straight away, I returned it then.
but that's you got back to me, right?
Yeah.
But that's just
it's
the
something
way
I struggle with. I think is because whenever I stop to focus on something else, I feel in my mind the way things work is there's blocks. So if I'm doing if I'm producing, I even turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I don't think any other broker does that I know of. Because I'd rather it just goes to voicemail, because all I'm focusing on right now is doing this. And even if we've a small team, 4 or 5 guys, if they come over and ask me a question, and kind of what you were saying, is this something that can wait till 3 o'clock, or is this a quick?
We used to have what's called a call hour, or call hours during the day, and it was just that was a big James thing, no, uninterrupted, go. I will say the one thing with time, which has been different, and I'll be totally transparent, is having kids now. I used to, it was just work, and it was there was no other thing that would stop me unless, if it was an emergency, obviously. But for the most part, I could control my own schedule. I think the kid element has been a new introduction to me, which has been, they're also 15 months old, so it's been, but getting home for bath time and bed, that's been definitely a transition, because I'm used to not having to and I have twin boys, so I can't, my wife can't do it by herself, so it's I actually have to put my phone down, which is very uncomfortable for me, and I'm still figuring that out. But then last night I'm go have dinner with your friends, and then I can like just eat dinner at my desk and work till 10:30. Like, so it's just different when you're, to your point, the hours have shifted of like when I'm working, but the amount of work doesn't change.
That's one of my favorite things about this business is the flexibility it gives you.
Totally.
You get, I think the best way I would think about it is that you get a lot of flexibility, but very little freedom.
Yeah.
You know, you're never really, like we were about
Never
that text. You got to keep your eye on that phone.
Never free.
You're never free. And like, even though like sure, you can go play golf on a Friday and that's nice, but
Not even enjoy it. It's stressful.
walked off the course because it's just, you look at your phone and something happens and you just need to be available. And I found it's better to say no to a lot of things now, especially similar to you just having small kids. And I'm sure the same for you, David. You have to be almost defensive a lot more of your time on a Sunday evening when you're thinking about your week. It's like you can't fill up your week the way you once could because you need to leave little margins for error. That
Yeah.
undoubtedly
I was
happen.
asked to play golf yesterday and tomorrow, and like I would love to, but it would be so stressful. It's just not worth
There's
it.
a time and a place.
Yeah, there are times I want to chuck my phone off of a roof. To your point, like the no freedom, like there are no boundaries, but at the same time, that's kind of ties back into like the whole marathon thing. It's like if you want to do this job and you want to do it well, like that's what you do.
Thank you for listening to the Broker Brunch. If you enjoy the show, please hit subscribe so we can reach more people.
Right, and you want to put in those hours when you're younger, so you set yourself up when you're older. That's what you would always talk about in interviews, right? Like, or I was even I'm always interviewing people. I'm always trying to find talent, right? That's another key to success. Trying to find people that are willing to work. It's so hard.
Send
right?
you my LinkedIn inbox. You'll have plenty. Of people
I have so many,
It's
but like
crazy.
they just they'll say they'll work and then they'll just disappear. But what I always say is like you got to make like this move or whatever your next move at a certain age is like a 5-year move, right? And you got to be all in. If you're from 25 to 30, then you're going to set yourself up when you want to have kids or a family. Like you got to really, those are the years to really devote, and that's what's said on all these podcasts of successful people. Like those are the real years to set yourself up for when you want to have the freedom, because by the time you're mid-30s or even later, like
It's tough.
it gets even that much tougher.
Are there a couple of indicators that you see when you're hiring, David, that, oh, this kid might make it or this kid definitely won't? Like, what are you looking for when people are sending over their resume?
Oh, God.
I find it so difficult to know.
I mean, I schedule my interviews to like 6-7 minutes, like, and I ask this
That is
questions.
savage. I love that.
Yeah, that's it. And they're back to back to back to back, and I get it
Are
done
you
in
just
like
monotone throughout the whole
pretty much.
What do you
like,
ask?
what are you looking for? What are you
Right.
looking to do? What are you looking
Right.
to get out of this?
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little about yourself.
Yes.
And the people that ramble on and on, I'm like, all right, it's not for you. Like, just to the point, straight. Like, this is what you want to be. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to learn. You want to be successful. Like,
Social IQ is big.
Yeah, social IQ. I don't really
I think
care about
social
what you're
IQ,
learning.
Yeah.
It's great. You go to everyone goes to Shack now. Like I couldn't afford it. I didn't have $1. Maybe my kids will get to go there one. Maybe if they do real estate, I don't know. We'll see. But everyone goes to Shack. Everyone learns Excel. Everyone yeah. I don't care about that. Like, okay, you're gonna put in the work. You want to learn how to be an investor in whatever it's gonna be. You're gonna want to learn how to underwrite. You want to learn how to talk to people. Like, and you're hungry, right? That's what it's all about, right? And you want to have a certain type of lifestyle where you have the freedom and you want to be out making your own way in this world, But I would say some of those people, I tell them to go get the training at a brokerage and then see if you can handle that, and then you gotta have some real training, right? Like
I always feel like acquisitions is where brokers go to die. Like, no disrespect to anyone. But that's usually what happens, and that's why I bet it's so valuable to you, because they've built up the skills that it requires to speak to an owner, to find a deal, to underwrite a deal. So they're kind of ready then to move into maybe a cozier salaried position with less upside, but also less downside.
those are always the best hires. But sometimes when people get their salaries, and I paid people big salaries, they end up doing nothing because they're getting their check on Friday. So it's a catch-22. And I'm also never ran like a big institutional place where you can go there and get a massive salary. But today, I don't think any of these places are really giving out massive salaries for acquisitions.
I think based on the resumes that have come into us and the outreach, I'm getting the sense there's not many people hiring because like the quality of the resumes to work in as an associate or an analyst in a brokerage shop, I'm like, why are these people applying to work? And look, I love what we do. It's just like those were usually the people that were looking for like institutional analyst roles.
Yeah, like BlackRock or like go somewhere on the.
I don't think those roles necessarily exist in the same quantity as they used to. So people, but honestly, granted it was totally intern. Like I started on that side of the business and like the institutional Excel, Argus. Candidly, I learned a lot more walking buildings, understanding zoning, and like there's a different skill set between underwriting a deal and actually like understanding the real estate and like understanding the market. And I think that's why, acquisitions guys will call me and say, hey, talk to me about the market. We're trying to figure out our underwriting. Like that says a lot to me because they want to understand, they have the models and they can go raise the equity. But it's just there's a different skill set.
Agreed. I want to talk about perspectives because I always think it's interesting when you have two sides of the same coin. So from the principal side and from the broker side. David, for you, so what kind of market are we in today, right? It's October 2025. What market are we in and what year does this most remind you of from the past?
It's not as bad as it reminds me, and this is what I've said to people, the last couple of years remind me a little bit of 2007, but there's money available, right? Just the volume just like seems like no one's really doing that much. It's very, very frozen, but you have to work that much harder to get deals done. You can get deals done. They're out there. You just have to work that much harder to do it. But I just see next year, and this is also from speaking to a lot of experts who are my investors or speak to tons of brokers, that it's just, we're in this pattern of, if a seller really has to sell, they're going to meet the market, right? So it's just a time thing, right? Is next year the year that X amount of people just want to retire, then there'll be more volume. But it's tough to make a deal just pencil on regular metrics, if that makes sense.
It does.
Like you're borrowing at 6.5 or 6. You got to make at least, in my opinion, an 8 because give yourself some cushion. But most people don't want to sell for 8, right? I mean, me included,
Yeah,
right?
of
Because if
course.
you sell for an 8 or a 7, you're not making your promote. You're maybe making your pref, but then you did it all for free. And who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Right? So the people that will sell are people that have no debt. And how many people just have no debt? And that's who I like to buy from, right? But they also have to sell at a certain number, and they need to be educated, or it's just time, or something needs to change, or things like that. But also, who sells there? If they're cash flowing, why would they sell it, right?
I would say more than anything, it's like status quo. It's been status quo
Yeah.
for years. I will say, I think I have seen prices drop, in my opinion, and that's actually, I'll be totally transparent. Our team's going to have this year actually our best year all time, which a lot of people would probably shake their head at that. I think a lot of people have come off expectations and have kind of thrown in the towel. They're like, we're holding, and now it's just like, you have mayoral news. I don't want to get into politics, but like I think a lot of people are just like, I'm done. So I always, and people that have heard me speak have heard me say this a lot. When you're in a market like this, there's the 4 Ds that are going to drive sales. It's death, divorce, dispute, debt. And if you don't have one of those 4 triggers, you're not going to sell your real estate. So unless you find a unicorn. So when I'm trying to figure out how to allocate my time, I'm focused on those. My number ones, candidly, are those 4 Ds. If someone's like very motivated to sell, that's probably going to be my best use of time. If someone's discretionary, and I don't think the building's unique, and I think the pricing's unachievable, you can ask a lot of people. I've done, I don't know how many, 200 BOVs this year. A lot of people are like, wow, like this is pretty low. I've spoken to other people. I'm like, okay, you can hire them. I totally respect that.
I just got one from him, and I was like, all right, I'm not listing it right now.
Yeah. So
But at least you believe them, right? Because that's where the relationship
well,
comes in.
that's
I'm
yes.
very, very honest about values and where things will transact. However, if it's a unique building, I have seen instances even in the last 6 months where I'm like, you'll see a couple of these trades close in the next few weeks. I mean, massive, massive numbers, like $1,800 a foot for like a walk up downtown.
Right, we'll take it.
And it's like not tax class 2B. So
Okay.
like, and a foreign buyers, but it was a specific location and I knew the building would do well. So like you have buildings that can trade that are like special. But outside of that, like unless the seller is like very motivated to sell, I don't see the transactions getting done.
Are you spending most of your time today talking to buyers or talking to sellers?
50-50.
50-50?
Yeah, I don't think it's one or the other. It's definitely been like a full mix. And candidly, a lot of buyers are sellers and sellers are buyers, so it's kind of
So it kind of cross-pollinates a lot.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the upper hand today in a negotiation, a buyer or a seller?
I hate to say it, a buyer. Yeah. I represent sellers. Buyers definitely have it. And I think that's what is making deals take so long. And I think everyone's like, oh, things are taking longer. The reason they're taking longer is because buyers don't have any urgency because they have all the leverage. So
Things are taking forever.
they know that
Everything.
they can nitpick everything. So like
Oh.
in a hot market, you're like, I could nitpick this, but I could lose the deal. And it's not like I can go open up my desk and there's 50 other deals to choose from. You're like, all right, you know what? I'm willing to take this risk. I'm willing to move faster to just get this done. Now, as a seller, you're stuck in a situation, right, where you have one or two people that really kind of step up, but then they start nitpicking, and then you're like, oh, well, you know, you should still buy it anyway. They're like, I have 1,000 other people calling me trying to get me to buy their real estate. So it's just, it's trickier. I would also say in terms of pricing, what I think's been really challenging is there are a handful of people that 24 to 25, what happened was I saw a lot of people just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And pricing came down. And what it's actually doing is it's making it really hard for me to sell for other clients. Because now, once a handful of sellers start dropping their pants, it's like, okay, then the pricing floor drops. And then, so what I'm competing with is less expensive, and then it brings down pricing for everyone. So I think that's been a big challenge, has been like, it's not that your property's not a great property worth X, it's that Steve, Joe, and Bob are now charging Y, and like we can't compete with them. That's the biggest challenge.
My own perspective on it is, and I know that brokers say this all the time, but I am seeing an uptick in activity even since
Huge.
Labor Day.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like
100%.
what it feels like is that the interest rates have been at this high rate for a long enough period now that folks aren't necessarily looking in the rearview mirror as much. So they're generally accepting that we're here in this like 6 to 7% range. And I feel like that gives them a lot of confidence just to move forward, that it's okay to do a deal today, that you're not like mistiming this. And I also feel that even 90 days ago with the mayoral election, like it's looking like Zoran is going to win it. And I think that really sent a shell shock through the industry at the time, but almost after Labor Day. And it's amazing just how resilient New Yorkers are and how we all just keep powering forward. Now it's almost like, yeah, he's probably going to win, whatever. Like we had Bill de Blasio for 2 terms as well, and we got through that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's almost priced in right now.
Totally.
And there will be some folks, but I honestly think very low. I think it'll be just more talking points about, oh, this is the final nail. Everyone's going to go to Florida. They won't go to Florida.
I had our research team, and I can send you guys this. I wanted to look at like the market between Bloomberg and de Blasio, and my takeaway was the macroeconomic conditions play a much larger role than micro conditions.
Meaning that it'd be much more like what's going on at the presidential level or the Congress.
Interest
or the Senate.
rates, the
Interest
economy,
rates, right.
you know, again, not to say that what happens here is irrelevant, because it's not, but there's so many different variables that move a market. But to your point, since, honestly, this was definitely the busiest summer I've had since 21, no question. Most contracts signed in the last 120 days, like, I compare it most to end of 21 into 22. who knows if it'll keep up the pace, but it's definitely like a relief, honestly. It's been like a lot of fun again, and I'm my best self when I'm busy, and this is hands down the busiest I've been in 4 years. So I like that, and I think I think there's something going on. I don't know what it is.
We're back. Another season of the Broker Brunch podcast. Summertime in New York. We've got a lot of exciting conversations coming up. We hope you enjoy listening.
But you can feel momentum. It's the same when you're playing a game in sports or whatever. You feel momentum.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel it. I feel it coming our way now. David, for you, speaking of momentum, I mean, these debt funds, alternative lenders, they've really filled that vacuum, I feel like, that the traditional banks left. So there's really not much of a difference now on deals, even in terms of rate. Like maybe there's a couple of points by going with a debt fund instead of a traditional bank. But what you get with the debt fund or the alternative lenders is that guaranteed execution, which really does have a value right now. How are you leveraging this, and how are you taking advantage of those new buckets of capital?
I've been doing a lot with a particular insurance company. You're
not going to name them, so I won't ask you to
won't name them because it's kind of like everyone's got to have their little secret sauce.
Of course,
but,
I'll check public records and report back.
Right, exactly.
Follow you
you know, they'll lend in Manhattan. They'll lend on shopping centers. They'll you know, and they're very aggressive. You know, it's half recourse, which is like a new thing to me because I'm usually full recourse on everything. I'm like, I don't even know what half recourse is,
like
or how that even works. But you know, that's like a new thing. I'm gonna ride that wave.
Half recourse wave.
Yeah, we just did a financing with them in the city on a building and West Hampton. But you know, there are some new buckets like that. There's always new people. There's always new investors, and the key is really finding. Right, it's all about finding something. Right.
Finding a deal, finding the money.
Finding the money, find the deal, find the money, find the investor. But I'm like you were saying, I'm definitely seeing the momentum. Like I just got flooded with 5 different purchase contracts of all different types, but it's all in those 4 Ds, right? Estate sales, distress, out of state distress. You know, people could own something that's far away, that's mismanaged. You know, it's all part of that.
I guess that's like kind of the dispute.
Right? Dispute with themselves, right? Dispute with family members.
We need a few subcategories of the Ds.
Right. So it's just, that's how I've always bought everything, is in those categories, right? I've never bought anything from someone that just sold something, because those days are over, right? Like you can't, someone that bought something in the last 4 or 5 years, unless they bought it in my opinion, the deep part of COVID, right? Maybe there's some juice left, right? But unless it's those 4 Ds, but look, like you said, it's a marathon, because like for 6 months I had literally no contracts. So I closed on a deal, sold a couple things, but like I was like, I'm not buying any. This is the first time I'm not buying anything in like 15 years. I'm like, what am I doing? Then you get flooded with 5 things, right? 5, 6, 7 things almost. And then you're bunches, like, and then you're like, I'm almost like, I can't even almost handle all these things. Now I got to get rid of like 1 or 2. You know, like I just don't want to, like, now I'm not going to push for, you know, you don't want to overreach. Like it's like taking a listing that's overpriced. Same methodology.
Yeah.
I don't want to overbuy something just because I have nothing going on, right? I don't want to take on something because I have nothing going on.
That makes sense. This is why it's so disappointing when you call people sometimes. You're like, I have the deal for you. And they might be just going through what you're referring to, which is just like, oh man, it is a great deal. It's just I'm tied up for the next one.
Right.
That is the worst feeling.
It's the worst.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I just found, like, because I wasn't doing anything for 6 months, a year, or whatever it is, or slower.
But then you wanted this type of deal.
Right. And then you just get inundated at the same time, and you know, you got to choose your time wisely.
And then where you're really shit out of luck as a broker is if like 6 months later you're calling that guy or girl and you're like, hey, so that deal that you didn't have time for, I still got it. Right. Yeah. And they're like,
pricing is about the same.
Yeah, you're just like, they're looking at you like just salivating. You're like, all right, I'm screwed.
Yeah. But so when I think of Brandon, when I think of David, I think of like master deal finders. I think both of you just have a great nose for a deal. You always seem to produce nice deals, good deals that we're almost hiding in plain sight. And a big part of my day as a broker is just thinking, like, how do I get my phone to ring, right? Like, what are different things I can do to make sure that phone rings? And David, you and I have chatted about this a few times. And in my mind, you're like the king of the mailers, and you're like an early adapter to it because
Dolphin equities.
Dolphin equity is
just the stories of like pumping tens of thousands of dollars into the mailbox, just to get the phone ringing, and it really works for you, right? I mean,
well, not that a lot of that was fueled by market conditions of making quick money. You can't make the quick money like you used to anymore. That was like a lucky moment in time, right? Being an emerging area, what's the next emerging area? Like Brooklyn before
Also
it is.
pre a lot of technology.
Pre-technology. So now it's like there's a whole technology aspect, AI and all this other stuff that people, robocalling, which we do some robocalling, and there's so many people have flooded the industry. It's like, what's the next thing?
this is why I'm on Do Not Disturb, because it's literally like, I think even just this morning, there's about 12 calls from just, and it's not even the 800s anymore, the 888s. It's like, I'm 201 area code. So it's like 201 area code. It could be it could be the builder calling me. It could be like my kid's school calling me. Like, so you kind of have to answer. But ultimately then it's just this robocall.
So I have a new rule. If I don't recognize the number, I let it go to voicemail. And if it's important enough to call back, someone will leave a voicemail or text me. And if it's not, I don't pick up.
I think that's a good, solid rule. And for you, David,
You
like,
can use it if you
yeah, I'm
want.
going to adopt that one. For, say, the mailers used to work and maybe they're not as effective, and you hit on a few things, AI, robocalling. What's one thing you're using today at Hildreth? And I'm not asking for your playbook, because
Sure.
I know, but what's one thing you're using that maybe you weren't using 10 years ago?
The robocalling.
Thank you.
That
That was you this morning.
And really tracking, like inbound leads, more
Okay.
so to speak. Like calls are getting recorded. You can go back and put things more in like a Salesforce type of system, right? Like
So you're a bit more organized maybe than
I
you
would
were?
say a bit more organized. Then it was just like spreadsheets. This was before
Yeah.
like Salesforce, right?
Right.
But like tracking leads, tracking offers, tracking high priority, doing it in a much more systematic approach instead of shotgun approach. Because right now, even if I think you were doing the shotgun approach, it wouldn't work because there's so many people out there and there's so much technology out there. There's so many, the sellers are that much more sophisticated.
They are.
Right? Because they can go on Crexy, CoStar, LoopNet, like they just need a computer, Zillow, like all these things, and Google their thing, and they are going to be like, it's not just the tax assessment telling them what their property is worth, which you can get around that, but like the 10 other stupid websites that'll tell them what their property is worth,
yeah,
right?
my issue with that has become, and I just dealt with this, is like the difference between asking prices and taking prices. And someone will say, oh, I just saw all these things on the market. I'm like, yeah, they've been on the market for 3 years. Like, it can be a blessing and a curse. We're definitely more organized. I mean, I'll give credit to our operations group that like created everything, but like everything for us is very automated, very easy to follow, and like that has been a game changer. But you said in terms of like getting the phone to ring, my experience has been one, and we talked about this earlier, you just do nice things for other people, send someone business, like don't always like necessarily ask for something back or like expect anything, and like you end up finding it just consistently comes back. I've given the amount of people I've given LP introductions to, and I've never taken an LP intro fee, but you build relationships that way.
And you just gave me one, which was amazing.
That-
I mean, out of nowhere. I was not expecting that. And most people don't do that.
Oh, that's right. I did do that for you. I forgot about
And
that.
he's
Yep.
not keeping track, which is,
I literally forgot about that.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
reciprocity is a
and
re-
someone that actually wants to do something, which
Right,
is
so-
which is shocking. I don't have to call them 500 times, and
Yeah,
and,
so I do a lot of that. And also, like, when I'm working on a deal, I understand, like, when people get really busy, they have a lot of deals they're working on, it's easy to delegate. I think staying in the deal, especially during contract negotiations, diligence, speaking with the attorneys, what I find is that those attorneys remember the people that were, like, grinding deals out. And, like, attorneys send me a lot of business. And it's not because I ask them anything. I refer out business as I do, but like it's usually just because they're like, all right, like if I work with this guy, I know he'll pick up his phone, he'll get stuff done, it'll make my life easier.
Right, and attorneys are just regular people too, right? They want their life to be easier, and they know that
Totally.
if they like to go and start a new relationship every time on every deal is very tiresome. And
I refer I refer business to the attorneys that are just like, they pick up their phone, they're easy, they don't have big egos, and they're just pleasant to work with, like, because that makes my life easier.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
in terms of So we talked about, production over the years, Brandon, and consistency. And you hit on a few things there, referring businesses, reciprocity. But in terms of like showing up on a Monday morning, outbound activity, what's the one thing that has continued to produce for you year in, year out that you can rely on is going to have the foundation of your income every year?
It's a very good question. I haven't thought about that. Like, what do I do, or what has been a huge?
For me, I feel like I fall back on cold calling as like the
So
fundamental.
I used to cold call. I don't have time anymore. What I did, and this was again a James thing. I listened to him. He always preached about a top 100. So what you would do, and when I started, so you had a list, and it was like your 100 people that if they were gonna think about selling real estate, who would they call? And you better be that person. So I built that list over time. One thing that I did, and I hate to use my secrets, but one thing that I always did was everyone would always go to the decision maker. So for you guys, like they would always go to David to call, but now David's got a ton of people that call him, right? Or whoever it may be, right? So then what I always found was, let's find the next person who's very involved in the day-to-day, and let me get really close with this person because they know what's going on with dispositions and acquisitions. Yep. I don't want to reference specific groups, but like there were some big nonprofits that everyone, like you knew the main person. So what did I do? I'm like, all right, I'm going to become very close with the people right below them. And next thing you know, it's like they're actually the ones that are like overseeing the dispositions. So I think that was a big thing I did. And also like a lot of people, I used to do like breakfasts and like get-togethers, and this 10 years ago. And a lot of those people now went from being a senior associate at a company to owning their own business now. So I think that, sticking with them, when they were first starting, making sure they were getting deal flow and making LP introductions for them. And you kind of, it just kind of all works itself out.
That's really what you call playing the long game.
Totally.
I feel like, because you're not going to get a deal maybe in the next 6 months from someone who's on the team or one level down, but you will now that you're, 8, 9, 10 plus years in the business. You're probably seeing that you've rose the ranks.
Yeah.
With these folks.
And not to interject again, but like one thing I always tell the younger guys too is, so my first big deal was a $62 million sale in Soho on Thompson Street. And that was in 2017. And people are always like, how'd you get that deal? It actually wasn't cold calling. I used to do tours all the time for our team. So like James would originate a gajillion listings, and I literally wore out 2 pairs of shoes, like touring these buildings. But I didn't just like show up at the building, open the door. I was like, I'm going to know this stuff well, and I'm going to talk to the people. Like these are the most organic meetings I can get with like some of the biggest names in real estate. This is a great opportunity for me. So what I would do is I would take them through. I would know the building cold, be able to answer their questions, sound smart, and then also ask them questions. What are you working on? And I would also look up in advance what they own. So I would ask them, like, so there's one guy I meet at a building in 2014 in the East Village that we were selling. I remember it was 57 2nd Avenue. And I was like, what are you working on? What do you do? And he's like telling me, he's like, oh, I'm doing this construction project on Thompson Street for this owner in Dubai. And I was like, oh, cool. And I kind of like look into it a little bit. Every month I sent him, if there was sales in Soho, I sent it to him every month. 3 months later, I get a call from the guy in Dubai. Hey, I would like to meet. I'm ready to sell my building. I don't want to get into details. One of the 4 Ds was happening. Was in play. And that was actually how that deal was sourced. So it was like I never took an opportunity for granted. I made sure to try to capitalize on it for whatever it's worth.
It's always simple stuff, isn't it? You're like, people ask, what's the secret sauce? What are you doing? But like, just listen to Brandon there. Like, he didn't do anything that like.
But most people don't put in that effort.
They don't put in the effort. They
don't do it organized, right? And that's why most people, in my opinion, just don't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, they just quit, right? They're not willing to play, as you guys say, the long game of even doing that for a year, right? Because everyone now, and I've talked about this with so many people. They want instant gratification. The young people want instant gratification, whether they see the Bitcoin trading or this or that. But like Bitcoin or anything, you got to buy something and then you got to wait, right? You got to really, unless you're trading in and out. But real estate's not. We're not in a trader. We're not in a trading environment right now.
Right.
We're not in the trading environment, in my opinion, or that much trading.
In the environment we're in, right? So it's as we wrap here on this chat. So we're heading for Q4. We're well into Q4 now, 2025. What's one thing you're really trying to focus on through year end to get done that you think is going to make a difference to your year?
Well, when you do year end, and this is what they talk about at Marcus, like what you're doing now at this point is going to be for really the first quarter of next year. Like whatever actions we're taking now. Yes, we all have our deals to close. I have a bunch of things I'm selling that are going to close, or purchases that I would like to just close on before the end of the year just because you feel better. But like the effort you're making now is really setting up for the first half of next year, which people also don't understand. Like trying to tell my team, whatever your efforts you're making now to get the deals, it's not going to close until like, and the way things are going, March, April, May, June. Yeah. Right? Things take now sometimes 6 months to actually close. Like, and that's like kind of normal.
It's a 5-quarter game, right? That's what everyone says. It's like,
yeah, that's a good one.
To your point, it's like everything you do now is going to be 2026. And that's kind of dispiriting sometimes when you come back after Labor Day. Like I say that to the guys, it's like, well, I hope you're happy with your earnings because
it's over.
Like, unless it's in contract right now, that's all she wrote for this year. So
right, and then there's always somebody, and this always happens the last 20 years or whatever, that wants to push it to January just because they're like, they come up with some taxes, some excuse, and you're like, huh?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, what's the why?
I sent a text message this morning that you better close in December.
Right. Like,
what about Christmas? What about Hanukkah?
Like why? Just like
I need it this year.
Yeah, everything should just
it's
sooner the better.
I hear you. No, I totally appreciate that urgency. And Brandon, I'll let you have the final word then. So, any big bets you're willing to make for 2026?
2026. I think 2026 will be. Man, and it's funny. Most people, I always say I don't have a crystal ball, so don't ask me. I think 2026 is going to be good. I think there's going to be, based on, again, I assume generally other people are in the same boat. I think we'll end up signing more contracts than any other quarter in the fourth quarter. And I think as a result, we will have the most closings in potentially Q2, but Q1, like we had a ton of revenue hitting end of this year into early next year. And I think I'll make 80% of my income this year in the fourth quarter, which is, that's never happened. And which is really an awkward way to live. But I think I have to imagine it's going to be good. I mean, again, assuming what's happening now maintains, there's no like shocks to the system, I can't imagine it getting, I mean, this has been great. Like I'm excited it's fun again. Which it's been a few years of just status quo and you keep working, but right now it's like fun.
Brandon, David, I appreciate you both.
Thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you.